welcome to EMS at Sea Level, from my home to yours. Today I'm with Akhil Oltikar, who is the founder and CEO of Omnics. Akhil, before we get into the questions and start to talk a little bit about your COVID experiences, let's start by introducing yourself and Omnics to our audience.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks for having me here. Omnics is a digital supply chain planning and execution solutions provider. So we are helping companies optimize the business performance across the entire supply chain, from strategic, tactical planning to operational execution. The platform has been developed in a very unique way in terms of how we are approaching the problem set. So very easily put it is that we are solving the same old problems, but with new thinking and applying technology to how to solve those problems. Not something that has been done last 20, 30, 40 years, but in a unique way. So yes, the platform is customer or industry agnostic. We have customers in footwear, apparel, consumer electronics, CPG, and manufacturing industries across. So that's Omnics, and I think with supply chain becoming a household name nowadays, we are definitely looking to some exciting times going forward.
Yeah, but Akhil, you're a household name in the supply chain, in the manufacturing side of the industry. Give me a little quick snapshot of your own background, because Omnics is a result of a lot of years of deep experience in supply chain.
Sure. So Phil, academically, I'm an industrial engineer. And since those early days, I've always been in supply chain management, supply chain operations. So almost 20 years in this industry now. And a lot of it was spent, almost 13, 14 years at Flextronics, one of the largest manufacturing companies on the planet. And just before Flextronics, we were a startup. I was a part of a startup which was acquired by Flextronics, where we had developed the very first supply chain simulation and optimization software, commercially available software in the industry. And over the last 20 years or so, working with Flextronics and other companies, large and small, we have seen this problem across the board. Whether the company is a big enterprise company, or you are looking at a startup in hardware space, right? So the challenges are the same across the board. Companies have invested a lot of money in systems, but they are more transactional in nature. When it comes to planning, we all know that companies fall back to spreadsheets, and that is exactly what we are solving. And we truly believe that we have broken that code now.
Yeah, there's definitely a better way. And like you say, supply chain has become a household name. I'm not sure it's become sexy, but it's certainly become important right now. Let's start by just exploring the experience you've had through the different stages of the pandemic, and how that's impacted your customers and what you've been able to do to support them.
Sure. This year definitely is going to be very testing, and it is. When it all started, frankly speaking, when I was looking at what was happening in China, coming out of Wuhan, the news and the data coming out of Wuhan, I said, okay, maybe, we have seen disruptions like these before. We have seen SARS, we have seen the avian flu, we have seen other natural events or natural disasters that have disrupted the supply chain. And keeping that in mind and looking with a hindsight, frankly speaking, I felt that, okay, this will probably be again, a disruption, but we will get back to it. I think where we stand right now, and based on from our customers, what we are hearing in general from my colleagues, my professional network globally, I think the challenge is going to be much longer than what everyone had thought about earlier. Definitely, this year is going to be extremely difficult. I think we have seen that the supply chains in Asia, particularly in China, have definitely come back. They are online, so to say, online. The factories are
Yeah.
back. But let's think about it in terms of not just from a supply side, but see what has happened to the demand side of
Yeah.
it. You may be able to supply, but is there going to be a demand? Is there going to be, the second wave that we are seeing, or the uptick in the number of cases and so on? This is what the data is telling us. We simply cannot predict the future. We'll have to look at it week by week, month by month. That is what we are seeing. Um, this too shall pass. It's not that it will be on forever, but definitely it is much longer than what everyone had expected or predicted back maybe in Feb, March, April. I think we're going to get some more of this before we are fully up online and everyone is back to the pre-COVID
Yeah.
levels.
Yeah. And you said about watching the data and seeing week by week, month by month, almost day by day, what is changing. Have you felt during this process there have been those that have the data and are better equipped as a result of that, and those that just don't have access to real-time data to be able to respond and adapt quickly?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think what we are seeing is the companies who have the processes, the data, the processes, and the technology and the tools to make the right decisions, or having decision support tools, are faring far better than the others. So that's number one. And this is not just about COVID-19. It is a must. It's a requirement for any company, whether you are in this situation, a pandemic situation, or any other, right? Because it's think about it, that you're looking at a pandemic. Tomorrow there could be trade wars. There are already trade wars, frankly speaking. Maybe next year there is something else.
Yeah.
We don't know. So the question is that how do you react to these situations and unexpected events? Some of them can be predicted, right? I mean, we can see that, okay, uh, there is globalization of the businesses, but we are also seeing regionalization of businesses now, right? So you can plan for those kind of changes in the global economic changes that are going to happen. But events like these are difficult. But the question is, you cannot predict that, but you have to be ready when it
Yeah.
hits to
Yeah.
make decisions faster. If you think about COVID-19, the first cluster was probably, it was announced, or it was detected December 31st. And then by Jan, or in about a month, Jan 23rd, 25th, Wuhan was shut down, and the other provinces were also shut down right after that. So think about it, from knowing that it is going to happen or something like that, to a complete shutdown. You had 30 days to move your supply chains, to find alternative suppliers, to ramp up or build up inventory, for example. You cannot do that, right? But you could mitigate those risks. You cannot completely eliminate those risks, but you can definitely mitigate that. You can be competitive, and you can definitely get ahead of the game.
Yeah, yeah, and I think digital transformation is a huge part of that. You're kind of at the bleeding edge of that digital transformation. I want to talk about that a little bit, but I just really wanted to go back, and over the last few months, as you've spoken to people, talk to me about some of those key conversations. Are people concerned, one, about the geography of their supply chain, where they should be dependent and where they shouldn't be dependent, and the kind of redundancy in there? And are they rethinking their view of inventory? Inventory always used to be the enemy. We were very much a just-in-time industry rather than a just-in-case industry. Have those two mindsets in terms of geography and inventory changed?
Let's break this into two parts, so I'll answer it in two parts. One is the overall strategic supply chain structure of companies. And this is something which I'm kind of direct conversations or questions been asked from the industry and what I'm getting and what I'm hearing. The strategic aspect of it, I think the whole dependency on China and the concerns started way before COVID.
Yeah.
We knew that because of the trade wars and tariffs
Yeah.
and duties coming in, right? So we could see, and our customers really thinking about it and asking, okay, how should we really structure the supply chain, considering, either I have my key suppliers or my contract manufacturer in China, and that is where it all started. And companies started evaluating Vietnam, Thailand, Malaysia, and so on, right? Even Burma, for example, Myanmar now. However, I just want to make one note here is that I do not see an exodus of manufacturing from China. That's not, China is a manufacturing powerhouse. We all know that, and that's going to be
It will remain so.
a long time to come. Because the supply base and the entire upstream supply chain is so well set up, right? We do not see that happening. But we do see the changes happening in terms of the final step or final assembly and tests of products moving, some of it moving out of China, not just because of tariffs and duties or COVID situation, but we have also seen wage inflation. We have seen challenges with the capacity in terms of, not the manufacturing capacity, but the logistics capacity, for example, in those kind of cases. But primarily the costs have gone up over the last so many years. So that's one part of it, because I think that is pre-COVID, post-COVID. I think that there's going to be a change in the supply chain structure per se. Then secondly, I think if we look at the downstream side in terms of not just manufacturing, but the value add or in postponement activities and warehousing distribution, where your inventory is really stockpiled, right? Companies are making really, so to say, data-driven decisions now. In fact, Omnics is helping customers make that decision around where should you do your distribution, how much inventory should be put into what location, depending on the markets, so that the time to market and the serviceability is the best, so to say. Because of Amazon, we have seen this, right? We are in the instant gratification economy. Everyone wants everything right away. So you need to respond to those kind of customers, and also omni-channel customers that we are seeing, not just retail, but also e-commerce that has, definitely after COVID, e-commerce is way. Convenience for companies, this is the best way I can put it. Convenience for companies is actually a competitive advantage nowadays.
Yeah.
If you can provide a convenient service to your customers, those companies are going to do better than the others.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those things that helps people win. And that, kind of brings me to something that you've always said to me and you've always been passionate about, and it seems more true here, which is align your supply chain strategy with your business strategy. It's that holistic approach that I think some people think of supply chain as existing in a vacuum, but it's a key asset of the business.
Absolutely. It's for example, I've seen this certain debates where there's a question about Brazilian supply chain or de-risking the supply chain. All valid debates, nothing wrong there. But you have to understand that your supply chain strategy should support your business strategy, in the sense that if you want the cheapest product, right, there will be inherent risks in your supply chain that you would have to bear, right? If your business strategy, I want to build the cheapest product, right? It doesn't matter where my supply chain is going to be, right? On the other hand, if you want something which is, the product in terms of the speed, convenience to your customers,
Yeah.
then there will be a certain premium on your supply chain which you will have to bear. So there is a balance there which you have
Yeah.
to look at. You cannot have the cheapest and the fastest at the same time. Somewhere in between, you will have to balance and look at those trade-offs.
Yeah.
And that is based on your business strategy. You determine your business strategy, what your go-to-market strategy is, what channels are you going to serve, what kind of customers are you going to serve, and then set up your supply chain strategy so that it supports those business objectives.
Yeah.
That is absolutely crucial. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you can't always start with free perfect now as your target outcome, although that seems to be what most people are looking for. When we look at things like pandemics, in my opinion, they don't actually create change, but quite often they accelerate it. We've seen this drive and this momentum towards the digital transformation of the supply chain. Um, is this an accelerant? Is this just evidence that we need to be moving faster and now is the time for change?
Absolutely. In fact, there is a positive problem that I'm facing right now. The phone is ringing
Uh-huh.
every single day, every single week. New
Yeah.
customers, new inquiries. Now, the point being that I think companies have realized
Mm.
that this is important. We cannot put it on a back burner anymore,
Yeah.
because the next time something like this comes across, we need to be ready. We need to be fast, agile in terms of how do we respond to it, and most importantly, adaptable to these events or changes that are happening. So I think, unfortunately, it took an event or something like COVID
Mm.
for this to be realized. But I'm bullish in terms of what's coming next.
Yeah.
Um, don't get me wrong; things are going to be really challenging over next few months, next maybe half a year, 1 year, as things
Yeah.
kind of we adjust to this new normal. And there are some areas that we cannot really predict how this is going to blow up or maybe simmer down and go away. We don't know that. But what I'm bullish about is that the innovation that is going to happen over the
Mm.
next few years, it is something that will be accelerated, something where you were looking at 10 years, which is going to be squeezed in next 2, 3, 4 years, right? That is exciting.
Yeah.
Talking about everything from manufacturing, from supply chain, digital transformations, um, for example, even down to remote working and tools and technologies being used, right? I mean,
Yeah.
see what we are doing right now. Probably at some conference, you and I will be talking, but we are here virtually on Zoom, right?
Yeah.
So I think every aspect of the business and of course our personal lives are going to be impacted, but I'm bullish in terms of the innovations that are going to come in next few years based
Yeah.
on this.
Yeah, no, I'm absolutely convinced you're right there. And I think the digitally enabled supply chain is quickly moved from a nice to have to a must have. And I'm convinced over the next year or so, it will become table stakes. To be a successful business, you are going to need to have these digitally enabled supply chains. So I think for people like you that are at the forefront of that rapid innovation, it's a very exciting time to be in this sector. Just changing gear a little bit, you've got a business where you've got people helping you out all around the world, software developers, different support networks. You're used to working virtually, so I'm guessing from a leadership point of view and from a running your business point of view, you've been very quick to adapt to this new normal.
Yeah, on the positive side, yes, absolutely. That has, frankly speaking, has not really changed in terms of how Omnics team works. We have been remote. We have worked together like this even before Omnics. So that has
Mm.
been. However, I think there are certain aspects that we have to be mindful about. And I say this not just for my team and how we are interacting and working together, but I say this across the board, right? I don't think, I mean, if it is normal for us to work from a home office for so many years, it may not be that easy for some others, right? You have to be mindful in terms of the challenges that are facing inside the house of so many people, and
Yeah,
kids being at home and schools being shut down and so on and so forth. So when this is all this really started Feb, March, really when it really hit us in the US, um, we had a on hands meeting and talking to the entire team. And I think it's very important to understand and support your team in these
yeah,
situations. And it's also very important to, frankly speaking, just put it out very, very clearly and subtle, in a very clear way that there are going to be challenges going forward,
yeah,
not to give any false hopes or
yeah,
expectations. I mean, we actually got together and said, okay, how do we really see this
yeah.
unfolding over
Planning
a
out.
few months? Worst case, best case scenario, mid case, kind of, what could
Yeah,
be the challenges, and what do we really need to do in terms of our business, and how do we have to adjust to it? How do we take care of our customers? How do we take care of our team? Making sure that the tools and the setup and all is available to everyone, so this can be managed going
yeah,
forward. So yeah, we had to set certain protocols. We had to work with the customers and making sure that that goes on. There should never be any problems
yeah,
for our customers going forward, and changing certain ways and protocols of how we really do the business, and that's
yeah.
important for
Yeah, and I
everyone.
think it's huge what you say about taking care of the team. I think you've got to focus on that and make sure everybody's got systems in place where those chats that they might have had around the water cooler, they can still have. Your virtual office door, I guess, is always open to help them out. This is the point where I would normally ask what people are binging on Netflix and what they're doing to keep themselves occupied in the evenings and in those times that they can't go out to their local restaurants. I know you'll be glad to see the Premier League back. I suspect what you've been binging on is old Manchester United victories over the years. Is that what's been keeping you sane and keeping you busy in the lockdown?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the I'll be honest. I think now the Premier League is back. It's fun. Uh, Before that, it was really painful. To be honest, I was always used to look forward to the weekends and even during the week, the
The midweek
games.
games, yeah.
Yeah, but as a Manchester United fan, congratulations to my biggest rivals.
There you go.
But I mean, they deserve it, no doubt about it. But I'm looking forward to next few weeks of
Yeah,
some exciting things. But yeah, for soccer is always there now. But I don't think I binged on Netflix, or maybe few shows here and there. Not too much into that, but definitely lot of old soccer games and.
yeah. And a
Yeah,
bit of homeschooling with the kids while they were at home. Did you turn teacher for a while?
absolutely. I think they just realize that we don't know some of the basics.
So they're teaching you some advanced algebra and some stuff like
Yeah,
that, and you're trying to teach them how to use a slide rule and a log table.
yeah, I had to brush up some of the basics to be fundamentals, to be honest with you. And I think they are more adaptable. They have adjusted to Zoom meetings. I mean, now it's summer vacation. We don't know how things are going to unfold next month. Whether schools will reopen or partially reopen, we don't
Yeah,
know that. But they have adjusted to that. And here's another side of it, right? Kids are a lot more easy
yeah,
and with technology and how they are using it. So
yeah. We
that's
can
going to
learn
be.
a lot. We can learn a lot from them in terms of their ability to adapt and how quickly they adjust to things. Last thing before we go, Akhil, advice for your peers, people in the supply chain that are kind of wondering what they should do next? What should they be thinking about, and where can they get access to resources?
I think a couple messages, so to say, for everyone. I think number one is be mindful, take care of yourself and your family and your colleagues and so on and so forth, because I think these are going to be trying times for everyone, no doubt about it. But I truly believe that this too shall pass. That's number one. Secondly, from a professional perspective in supply chain, I think the time is right. Many times before, I've seen and heard that, yeah, let's take care of what needs to be done today and tomorrow. We will keep this for later, right? Because, but think about it, there's never going to be a good time. Supply chains are that way, right? You cannot really, urgent is always, takes priority over the important. But now the time is right to do what is important. Because what you want to do right now is set up your processes, data, tools for the future, not something that's going to be tomorrow or day after week, right? So that's one thing which I would definitely say. And at the end of the day, I think if you really look at it, um, uh, the supply chains for our wants, from phones to devices to something else, have been fantastic over so many years, right? And we love it. But supply chains for our need are
critical.
Yeah, and COVID-19 has exposed that they are so weak. So I think also going forward, and we as Omnics are also investing and working towards that, is how do we help supply chains in terms of the food industry, in terms of medical supplies, in terms of pharma, and so on and so forth. So I think there is another area which we believe truly, and that is what we are passionate about, is that yes, we have worked so much in consumer electronics and manufacturing and so on. But I think what we saw from what has happened over the last 2-3 months is that something which is an absolute need for us to survive are breaking down, right? So we need as a community, as a supply chain community, we need to work together to solve and help those companies and those people.
Yeah, and we've seen some great examples of collaboration, and I think we've learned that we can collaborate and we can move fast, and it's a great time to do that. The supply chain never pauses, so it's not like you have a kind of a summer break or an opportunity to do that. You've got to seize the day and get on with it. Akhil, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for your candor. Always an absolute pleasure to speak. I would encourage anybody who's having supply chain issues to reach out to Akhil on LinkedIn or any of those platforms and find him and have a chat with him. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching EMS at Sea Level, and we'll see you next time. Stay safe and take care. Thank you.
Thanks a lot.